We finished talking in time for Dr. Roop to turn off the anti-surveillance tech and unlock the door, so we just looked like early arrivals when the others showed up. Even Volonic, who was rubbing his eyes like he'd just woken up from a nap, showed up for the meeting. Captain Quassel and Urch looked a little harried, but were very friendly when they came in. Urch slapped my shoulder and the captain gave me a hug, even though she'd just seen me the day before.
"I've been very busy getting this ship in order," she told me. "I am sorry if you feel neglected, but it is wonderful to have you on board. All of you."
"I know what you plan to do for me," said Gleewixix, "and for the Confederation. I am very grateful."
I hadn't seen her since her rescue, and I was glad that she was looking healthy. At least, she was as far as I could tell. I'd never seen any other beings of her species. The Confederation director was small and blue and eyeless, though that didn't stop her from getting around. I presumed she navigated by way of sound, through her big bat-like ears. Or possibly scent, or some other sense picked up by her nasal slits or the many small waving tendrils just below her forehead. I felt an almost uncontrollable gratitude towards her. Yes, I would not have experienced all the danger of the past week if Gleewixix hadn't come to Earth looking to recruit me for her mission to the Hidden Fortress. On the other hand, she had risked a lot to trust me, and she'd paid for that risk, with the loss of her ship and time she'd spent in a Phatic prison. If she hadn't trusted me, and wanted my help, Tamret would still be stuck on Raural, engaged to Volonic. I would have been stuck on Earth. None of us would have had another chance at joining the Confederation. She stuck one of her small blue hands for me to shake, Earth style.
"The Confederation owes you a debt once again."
"Well, we didn't actually do anything," I said. "I mean, I would have done my best to rescue you, but we never had the chance. My mom would say we were a day late and $1 short." Steve cast me a knowing look.
"Mainly because we were stood up on our way to the party, eh?"
"I apologize for that,"
Captain Quassel said.
"You have to understand that while we were willing to accept your help if we had no choice, we were uncomfortable asking a group of children, no matter how powerful, to attempt a prison break such as you had planned. We have been building our own contacts and insiders for years. While we were waiting for you, an opportunity to effect the rescue presented itself, and we took it. We left a coded communication beacon for you, but apparently you had your own troubles when you entered the system, and never found it."
"Captain Quassel struck first," Urch said, "but I understand it was your plan which Dr. Roop relayed to her. I consider us to be in your debt. I was going crazy in there. They kept the director separate from the rest of us, so I had no idea what was going on with her, and I feared the worst."
"It is true,"
Niana said.
"He kept breaking things, sort of out of frustration."
I knew Urch to be extremely loyal, and equally determined. If he had been worried about the highest official in his civilization, he must have been difficult to be around.
"I was separate from the others, but not poorly treated," Gleewixix said, "though I appreciate the concern, and all that you have done."
"So, what's the plan now?" I asked as we all took our seats. Tamret was next to me, but she didn't look over at me.
"The plan is your plan, Zeke,"
Captain Quassel said.
"We arrive on Confederation Central unannounced, and we broadcast a message from the director. Junip will be disgraced, and either he will be arrested or he will flee. In either case, he and his followers will be out of power, since the actual elected director will now be back in Confederation territory."
"At that point," Dr. Roop said, "the director will exercise her authority to mobilize the Confederation military. Our forces will drive the Fads from Earth, and any other territories they may have taken since her capture. Your world should be free within 3 or 4 standard days."
I nodded in thanks. Once Junip was out of power, the Fads would have more important things to care about than our families, whom they were holding prisoner. But the sooner Earth was liberated, the happier I'd be.
"We wanted to brief you because there are inevitably going to be hearings,"
Captain Quassel said.
The charges against Junip are serious, and in order for the Confederation to move forward, there will have to be hearings that expose precisely what happened and how. It is our intention that we learned from our mistake, so we do not repeat them. Your voices, your experiences are important to that process. That means it may be some days, possibly even weeks, until you can return to your home planets.
What?
Alice half rose out of her chair before controlling herself and sitting back down.
No way. I've been away too long, and I'm worried about my mom and dad.
She glowered at me.
We would like to cooperate,
Charles said, more diplomatically.
but you must recall that our planet is in a terrible state. Misan and Alice are not alone in their concerns for those back home. That is, in a large part, what I wanted to discuss with you. We understand that you are worried, and we want to do everything we can to help.
The captain gestured at Glee-Wixix.
Once we have overseen a safe and peaceful removal of phatic forces from your world,
She said,
we will help in detaining their collaborators, who will be handed over to your own judicial bodies. We would like to invite your families to send communication beacons back to the capital. You will have to provide us with contact information, of course, but it should be relatively easy to track down any names you give us. It may be longer than you would like before you can see them again, but we will enable the sending and receiving of messages from them. Finally, in appreciation for all you have done for the Confederation, I will recommend that all your planets be allowed to bypass the initial step of providing candidates for the application process. I intend to argue that Earth, Rarl, and Ishi be granted preliminary Confederation membership.
Misan looked skeptical at best. I knew she wanted to see her family, but maybe knowing that they were okay would be enough. The rest of the humans looked considerably happier. We had been promised another chance to apply for Confederation membership, and while I believed Earth would have had every chance of succeeding, this was even better. Skipping the year of evaluation meant a fast track to advanced technology and medicine, things that would make a huge difference, especially in the aftermath of the invasion. Even so, there were things here that I didn't like at all. That sounds great, I said. It really does, but I guess I worry it won't be so easy. I mean, Junip is just one guy, but there are a lot of members of his movement for peace, and he has followers throughout the government.
I know you have not always had reason to be impressed with Confederation justice,
said Captain Quassel.
Neither have I, but you've only seen our worst side. I think now you will see us at our best.
I'm glad you're optimistic about this, I told her, my voice icier than I intended, but I'd like to hear Director Glee-Wixix's assurances. Here we go, said Misan. She smacked her palm against her forehead. It sounded like a whip crack.
There's no need to turn everyone against you. Just take the win and move on.
The other humans were staring at me, looking anxious or embarrassed or angry. Even Steve was gazing at me with curiosity, his tongue flicking in the air as he tried to figure out what I was up to. Tamret turned to look at me, her ears back and her eyes slits of suspicion.
Zeke, Dr. Roop said quietly, your tone is a little forceful when speaking with the director. It is fine, said Glee-Wixix, her tendrils waving vigorously at me. As Captain Quassel observed, we have not perhaps earned Zeke's trust as well as we might have, but we certainly owe him and his associates our gratitude. I don't mind explaining. Yes, Junip has managed to build up a large faction, and they have been loyal, but popular opinion will turn against them when they are exposed. I have been through enough political cycles to know that those who were loyal out of expedience will change allegiances. Those who are true believers will flee. None who supported him will retain their positions following the next election. There will be no bloody revolution, but there will be a sweeping away of Junip's supporters.
And what about Junip himself? I asked.
He has done more than support a political position, she assured me. He has engaged in criminal activities including murder, attempted murder, and sabotage of a Confederation vessel. He will face criminal charges. That is one of the reasons you must remain with us for a while, so that we can take your statements for his trial.
And you're okay with this? I pressed. I remember you telling me that you two were once friends. I have learned sometimes the hard way, you can't read too much into alien body language. But her ears shot up and became broad, and her nasal slits were flaring. She didn't like these questions.
That was a long time ago, Glee-Wixix assured me. He has changed. I feel nothing but disdain and pity for both him and his foolish ambitions.
And you won't make any kind of allegiance with the fads?
Zeke,
Dr. Roop snapped.
that is quite enough.
I understood why he reacted that way. It seemed like I was being rude, and maybe I was being rude, but I had to ask. I would like to hear the answer, Volonic said sheepishly. He then covered his mouth so he could yawn. We have a right to know. I could do with less help from that quarter, but I supposed I should be glad someone was backing me up.
Perhaps you could tell us why you are asking all of this,
Captain Quassel said gently.
Is there some specific reason you want to press these points?
I just want to make sure that things are going to be different this time.
Very well, said Gleewixix. If it makes you feel better to hear it, I promise you I have no intention of making any sort of allegiance with the fads. My goal has always been to stop their expansion and ultimately liberate the worlds they hold. This latter part will be a slower process than I would like, but I intend to dedicate the remainder of my time in office overseeing what I hope will be the beginning of the end of the Fatic Empire. As for Junip, I feel no loyalty to him whatsoever, and I intend to work to make sure he is captured and punished. Does this satisfy you?
Dr. Roop asked. I could hear the impatience in his voice. I understood that we were all seen as his responsibility, even Alice and Volonic, whom he hadn't brought into the Confederation. And my pushing the director had seemed disrespectful. I think I heard what I needed to, I said. My interrogation of the most important elected official in the known galaxy had clearly soured the mood of the meeting, which broke up not long after. Dr. Roop looked at me sadly, and I wondered what he was thinking. Had I become too full of myself, or that I'd lost perspective? I would have to do damage control with him later. For now, I was too worried about what I had learned. As soon as we were away from the adults, Mi-san rounded on me. What were you doing in there? Why do you always have to make trouble? We have got to get off this ship, I told her. We need to steal a shuttle. If we don't, Confederation Central will be destroyed, and Earth will remain part of the Fatic Empire.
What are you talking about? Alice asked. Why would you say that?
Because I had a lie detector implanted on me by a guy with a 20-sided die for a head, I told them, and nothing Gleewixix told us is true. I don't know about you, but I can only think of one reason that she would lie about that stuff. She's working with Junip and the Fads. She's been on their side from the beginning. We've been played.